I thank you for joining me as we continue on in our examination of the story of Jesus as told by the Apostle Matthew. In this unit, we are going to be looking at Matthew chapter 19 and verses 13 through 15. And I'm going to be looking at Willis Barnstone's The New Covenant. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 13. Then children were brought to him that he might lay his hands on them and pray for them. But his students scolded those who brought them in. Yeshua said, "Let the children be, and do not stop them from coming to me, for of such is the kingdom of the skies." And he laid his hands on them and went on his way. The church's future is found within its youngest members. If we want to impact the world tomorrow, we must do it today through our ministry with children. The importance of educating our youngest members is paramount in the life of the church. The challenge in the church is that we are largely using volunteers who may or may not be gifted teachers. The average Sunday school is probably not going to be able to compete with the teaching standards of the local public school. Then we factor in the fact that we are expecting in often maybe a 45-minute block a week to teach children what they need to know of the faith for the week ahead of them. Can we realistically expect to succeed? I grew up in the 1960s, and in a chunk of that time, we did not own a television that worked. Apparently, we had a television, but it died. The money wasn't there. It did not get fixed. I made up for lost time in the early 1970s when we got a television. And children's programming in that day and age, well, it was stuff like Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner. Now, if you watched Roadrunner take on Wile E. Coyote, it was not about the intricacies of physics and Newtonian theories of gravity. When I started to pay attention to some of what my son watched a generation later on television, I was surprised and almost shocked and at times humorized, I guess you could say, or thought it was kind of funny to see how much of children's television by the time my son was watching it had to have some sort of educational expert to justify and vindicate it. It wasn't just enough for children to watch television and waste hours of time. That television program for children had to be affirmed and confirmed by somebody who had educational expertise on teaching young children. In other words, modern children's television seeks to justify its existence through its mandate to teach children. Now, when you look at how much television the average child watches, and then compares in the life of the church how much time is actually spent in the teaching ministry of the church, I dare say it's not even a close comparison. Television programs may not be overtly educational, but all television is an education in our culture and its values. And how do we in the church begin to compete with television? The issue is not whether our children are getting an education or not. It is whether they are getting an education in the values and beliefs that are integral to the Christian heritage. We cannot expect the secular agencies in our world, be it childhood education, public schooling, or television, to do it. In fact, one of the problems is that too much of what passes for education is about the passing on of information. If we want children to get the education they need, we need to rediscover the centrality of the home for it. It is a home where we can learn our prayers, our creeds, our confessions of faith, and most of all how we as Christians live out our life in a relationship to others. It is a home that can teach us the primacy of relationships over things. It is a home that can teach us the glories of manual labor and hard work. It is a home where children need to be taught, and in particular as Christians, taught in the values, beliefs, and practices that make us believers and followers of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus was willing to reach out to children. The disciples, well, they did not get it. Children in every day and age are easy to set aside. They are inconvenient and demanding. They are prone to soiling their clothes at the most inappropriate time and getting sick just as you're about to leave ready to leave home. If we want to bless the children in our lives as Jesus did, it will not just happen in 45 minutes on a Sunday. It is where we create homes where they can grow at their own pace and in their own way. Homes where Christ is Lord and parents live for him. If we take seriously what Jesus says in these verses, we will make investments to make sure that our children are blessed. And we do that through a solid grounding in the fundamentals of what it means to be Christian and to live for Jesus Christ in a world that is sinful.